Hey, and welcome back to JBC English Learning Academy. My name is Leura, and I'm here to guide you on your journey to clear, confident, and natural English. If you truly love your parents, then like the video, subscribe to the channel, keep watching the video, and comment on how much you love parents. Your support truly helps this channel grow. Alright. Take a deep breath, relax, and let's begin today's session. In this first part of our long story, I want you to imagine a quiet morning, a very simple and gentle morning, the kind that feels soft on your skin, the kind that feels like a beginning. I want you to picture a young man named Daniel. Daniel is not special in the way movies like to show. He is not tall, not strong, not famous, not someone the world looks at. He is an ordinary person with an ordinary face and an ordinary life. But deep inside him, something is heavy. He feels that when he speaks, his words are weak. He feels that when he tries to express his ideas, his voice shakes a little. He feels that he is always behind other people, like he is standing in the last line, waiting for a chance that never comes. And this feeling sits inside him like a small stone in his chest. It is not painful, but it is always there. And he wonders, quietly, secretly, if he will ever become the person he wishes to be. That morning, Daniel stands in front of the mirror. The light is soft. His hair is a little messy. He looks at himself and says, in a very low voice, "Why am I like this? Why do I feel so small?" He hopes that maybe the mirror will answer. But of course, the mirror stays silent. Mirrors always stay silent. As he looks at his own reflection, something strange happens. He feels like he is looking at a stranger. He does not feel connected to the person in front of him. He feels like the reflection has a different life, a different courage, a different confidence, something Daniel wishes he had. It is a strange moment, a quiet and slow moment, but it feels important. It feels like the beginning of something. And while he is standing there, he remembers something someone once told him. It was a teacher from school, an old man with soft white hair and a gentle smile. The teacher once said, "Confidence is not something you find. It is something you build, slowly, brick by brick, like a house." And Daniel thinks about this now. He thinks about the words, brick by brick. He wonders if he has ever tried to build anything inside himself. Maybe he has been waiting. Maybe he has been hoping that one day confidence will appear like magic. And maybe, just maybe, it does not work that way. Outside, the city is waking up. Cars move slowly. People walk with bags and coffee cups. The air is cool. The world feels fresh. Daniel picks up his backpack and steps outside his apartment. As he walks down the street, he feels a little nervous, though nothing special is happening. He is simply walking. But sometimes a simple walk can make you think about your life. And today, he thinks about his voice. He thinks about the times he wanted to speak but couldn't. He thinks about the moments he stayed silent even when he had something important to say. He remembers the meetings at work where the ideas in his head were strong, but the words from his mouth were weak. And he remembers the feeling of regret that always followed. Regret is a quiet thing, but it is powerful. It stays with you like a shadow. And today, Daniel is tired of regret. He wants something different. He wants to change. As he walks toward the train station, something interesting happens. His phone vibrates. He looks at the screen and sees a message from his friend Maya. Maya is one of the few people who truly understands him. The message says, "Hey, are you coming to the workshop tonight? It's about building self-confidence. I think it could help you." "I'm going too." Daniel stops walking for a moment. He reads the message again. A workshop about confidence. Normally, he would say no. Normally, he would feel too shy, too nervous, too scared of sitting in a room full of strangers. But today, something inside him is different. Something is awake. He feels a small push, a gentle one, but a real one. He types a message back, "I'll come." The day moves slowly. At work, Daniel tries to focus on his tasks, but his mind keeps returning to the workshop. He wonders what it will be like. He imagines a room full of confident people talking loudly and laughing easily, and he feels a little sick. He imagines himself sitting in the corner, quiet and uncomfortable. His heart beats faster. But then he remembers what his old teacher said. Brick by brick. Maybe tonight will be the first brick. Maybe tonight will be the first time he chooses to build instead of hide. And the idea gives him a little comfort. Finally, evening comes. Daniel leaves the office, walks through the city streets, and reaches the building where the workshop is held. The door is open, and inside he hears soft music. He takes a slow breath and steps in. The room is warm, bright, and friendly. There are chairs arranged in a circle. People sit and talk quietly. No one looks too confident. No one looks perfect. They look normal, like him. And this surprises Daniel. He expected something else. He feels a little better. Maya waves at him from across the room. She smiles, a big warm smile that makes Daniel relax instantly. He sits next to her and whispers, "Thanks for inviting me." She nods and says, "You're ready for this." A woman enters the room. She is the workshop leader. Her name is Elena. She has calm eyes and a soft voice. She welcomes everyone. She says, "Tonight is not about being perfect. Tonight is not about being strong. Tonight is about learning how to listen to yourself, how to speak from your heart, and how to trust your own voice." Daniel listens carefully. Her voice feels safe. Elena continues, "Confidence is not loud. Confidence is not about shouting. Confidence is about being comfortable with yourself, even when you are quiet. Today we will take the first small step together." Daniel feels something inside him open a little. Just a little. Elena asks everyone to close their eyes. She says, "Imagine a moment in your life when you stayed silent because you were afraid. See that moment clearly. Feel it again, but this time, imagine what you would say if fear did not stop you." Daniel feels a heavy memory rise inside him. A meeting at work. A great idea in his mind. But his voice was trapped. He sees the moment. He hears the voices around him. He sees himself staying quiet. And he feels the same regret again. But now Elena's voice says, "Now speak. Say what you wanted to say, even if it's only in your mind." And Daniel imagines himself speaking. He imagines saying his idea with confidence, with clarity, with courage. And for the first time, the moment feels different. The regret becomes a little lighter. After the exercise, Elena asks everyone to share their experience. Daniel feels nervous. He does not want to speak. He feels the familiar fear rise inside him like a wave. But then he feels Maya's hand tap his arm gently. She whispers, "You can do it." The room becomes quiet. People look at him, waiting. His heart beats fast, but something inside him says, "This is your first brick." And he speaks. His voice is soft, a little shaky, but clear. He says, "I always stay quiet when I want to speak. I'm afraid people will think my idea is not good enough. I'm tired of feeling this way." When he finishes, the room stays quiet for a moment. Then Elena nods slowly and says, "Thank you." That is courage. Daniel feels something warm spread through his chest. It is small, but it is real. A small spark of confidence. The workshop continues with stories, exercises, and gentle guidance. People share their fears. People talk about their dreams. Daniel listens and realizes something important. He is not the only one who feels small. He is not the only one who feels afraid. Many people carry the same fear inside them. Some hide it well. Some don't. But the feeling is the same. And this idea brings Daniel comfort. He feels connected to the people around him, even though he has never met them before. For the first time in a long time, he does not feel alone. As the night comes to an end, Elena gives the group one final message. She says, "Confidence grows when you take small steps every day. It grows when you speak even when your voice shakes. It grows when you choose courage over comfort. Remember, you do not have to be strong all the time. You just have to try." These words stay in Daniel's mind like a gentle echo. They feel warm. They feel true. Daniel and Maya walk out of the building together. The night air is cool and peaceful. Daniel looks up at the sky and feels lighter. Maya smiles and says, "You did great." Daniel laughs softly and replies, "I was scared the whole time." Maya nods and says, "That's okay." Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is acting even when you are scared. Daniel thinks about this. It feels right. It feels like something he wants to remember. As he walks home, he thinks about the workshop, the people, the stories, and the moment he spoke. He realizes that something small has changed inside him. It is not a big change. It is not a dramatic transformation. But it is a beginning. A first step. A first brick in the house he wants to build. And he knows that tomorrow, he will try again. He will try to speak a little more. He will try to trust his voice a little more. And slowly, step by step, he will build the confidence he has always wanted. And as he reaches his apartment, he feels a soft smile on his face. For the first time in a long time, he believes that maybe, just maybe, he can grow. Maybe he can learn. Maybe he can change. And this belief, this quiet new belief, is the true beginning of his journey. The next morning arrives softly, with a pale light that slowly climbs through Daniel's window and settles gently on his face. He wakes up slowly, not with the heavy feeling he usually carries, but with something different, something lighter, something almost warm. He lies in bed for a moment, staring at the ceiling, and he remembers the workshop from the night before. He remembers the circle of chairs, the soft music, the warm lights, and Elena's calm voice. He remembers the moment he spoke, the moment he pushed through fear, even though his voice was shaking. That moment stays with him like a small flame, a quiet glow inside his chest. It is not big, but it is enough to guide him, enough to remind him that he can take small steps forward. When he finally sits up, he whispers to himself, "I can change." And for the first time, he actually believes the words, even if only a little. He gets out of bed, walks to the mirror again, and looks at himself the way he did yesterday morning. But today, the reflection feels different. It is still him, of course. The same face, the same eyes, the same quiet expression. But there is something new in his eyes, something he cannot fully explain. Maybe it is courage. Maybe it is hope. Maybe it is simply the memory of the moment he chose to speak. Whatever it is, it makes him stand a little straighter. He touches the cold edge of the mirror and says softly, "Let's try again today." This simple sentence feels like a promise, a gentle promise to himself. Daniel makes breakfast slowly, thinking about the next small step he can take. The workshop taught him something important. Confidence does not grow in one day. Confidence grows through small actions, soft moments, simple decisions. It grows when you show up, when you try again, even when you do not feel strong. And Daniel knows he needs another step today, something small but real. As he eats his toast, he thinks about work. He thinks about the meeting that usually happens every Monday morning, the one he usually sits quietly through, waiting for it to end. The thought makes his stomach twist a little. The idea of speaking in a room full of coworkers feels frightening. But he remembers Elena's words, "Speak even when your voice shakes." And he wonders if maybe today he can try. Not something big, not a long speech, just one small comment, one small sentence. A small brick in the house he is building. When he steps outside, the morning feels fresh, calm, and open. The city moves around him with its usual rhythm, cars rushing past, people walking quickly, the sound of footsteps and voices filling the air. But today, he hears these sounds differently. He feels like he is walking with a quiet purpose, like he is part of something larger, something that is slowly unfolding. As he walks toward the train station, he takes a deep breath and practices a sentence in his mind, a simple sentence he might say during the meeting. "I think we can try a different approach." He repeats it slowly, imagining himself saying it in a calm voice. The thought makes him nervous, but it also gives him a tiny spark of excitement. The train arrives, and Daniel finds a seat by the window. As the train moves, he watches the city slide by: buildings, trees, people, small shops, busy streets. He thinks about how many people around him carry similar fears, how many people wish they could speak more confidently, how many people stay silent because they are scared of judgment. And slowly, a new thought forms in his mind. Maybe confidence is not about being better than others. Maybe confidence is about being honest with yourself, about being gentle with your fear instead of running from it. This thought makes him breathe a little easier. At work, Daniel sits at his desk, trying to focus, but the upcoming meeting sits in his mind like a small trembling bird. His hands feel a little cold. His heart beats faster than usual. But every few minutes, he repeats the sentence he practiced earlier. "I think we can try a different approach." He says it silently, moving his lips slightly, trying to get used to the sound of the words. He tells himself that he does not have to be perfect. He just has to try. And this thought becomes his anchor. When the meeting begins, Daniel walks into the room slowly. People are already talking, greeting each other, settling into their chairs. He sits near the end of the table, the same place he always chooses. The meeting starts. His manager begins speaking, discussing plans, goals, and challenges for the next project. Daniel listens carefully, waiting for a moment when he might speak. But every time he thinks about opening his mouth, his heart beats faster and his throat feels tight. The fear tries to pull him back, tries to keep him quiet. But he remembers the workshop. He remembers Elena's voice. He remembers the moment he spoke last night. And these memories push him forward. A moment arrives when the manager asks, "Does anyone have ideas for improving the process?" The room becomes quiet for a brief second. And in that small silence, Daniel feels a warm push inside him. His hand trembles, but he raises it slowly. His manager looks at him with mild surprise. "Yes, Daniel," he says. Daniel takes a slow breath. His voice is soft at first, but he speaks the sentence he practiced. "I think we can try a different approach," and he continues, bit by bit, explaining his idea. His voice shakes once, but he does not stop. He keeps going, gently, slowly, finding his words as he speaks. When he finishes, there is another short silence. Then his manager nods and says, "That's a good suggestion. Let's consider it." Daniel feels a warm wave spread through his body. He did it. He actually did it. A small step, but a real one. For the rest of the day, Daniel feels different. People smile at him more than usual. One coworker even says, "Nice idea earlier." And Daniel feels a small sense of pride. Not loud pride, not bragging pride, just a quiet satisfaction that he tried something new, something hard. And he survived. More than survived, he grew. During his lunch break, Daniel sits in the small park near his office. Birds hop around the grass. A light breeze moves through the trees. And Daniel takes a deep breath, letting the moment sink into him. He thinks about how just one small action can change the way you feel about yourself. He wonders how many small steps he can take in the days to come. He wonders how far he can go if he keeps choosing courage. The idea makes him smile softly. He begins talking to himself quietly, practicing simple English sentences the way he used to practice math problems in school. He whispers, "I can speak clearly. I can express my ideas. I can grow." He repeats these sentences slowly, letting each word settle inside him like a small seed. After work, Daniel walks through the city with a quiet, almost peaceful energy. The sky above him slowly turns golden as the sun begins to set. Everything feels a little softer, a little brighter. He stops at a small cafe and buys a warm drink. He sits by the window, watching people pass by. And as he sits there, something interesting happens. He begins to reflect on his life, on the years he spent being afraid to speak, on the moments he lost because of silence. But for the first time, he does not blame himself. He does not feel angry or sad. He feels understanding. He realizes that he was doing the best he could with the fear he had. And now he is learning something new, something he never learned before: how to trust himself. When he gets home, he sits at his table and opens his notebook. It is an old notebook, mostly empty, with only a few random pages filled. He writes slowly in simple English, "Today I spoke in the meeting. I was scared, but I did it. This is my second step." He looks at the sentence for a moment, then adds, "I want to keep going. I want to become the person I know I can be." He closes the notebook and places it on the table like a quiet promise to continue growing. That evening, Daniel receives a message from Maya. She writes, How was your day? Daniel smiles and replies, I spoke in the meeting today. A moment later, Maya responds, That's amazing. I'm proud of you. Daniel feels warmth in his chest. It feels good to be seen. It feels good to be understood. It feels good to share progress with someone who cares. Maya sends another message. Want to go to the workshop again next week? Daniel thinks for a moment, then types yes. I want to keep building. Later that night, Daniel sits by his window, looking at the quiet city lights. He thinks about how confidence feels. Not loud, not big, not like a fire. More like a gentle candle flame that grows slowly with every brave moment. And he realizes that confidence is not something other people give you. It is something you give yourself, piece by piece. He feels calm. He feels hopeful. And he falls asleep with a soft smile, ready for whatever tomorrow brings. Because the quiet change has already started. The next week moves slowly, gently, like a long soft wave rolling across the shore of Daniel's life. Each morning, he wakes up with a slightly different feeling than before, something lighter in his chest, something more open in his mind. It is not confidence yet, not the full kind of confidence he dreams of, but it is the beginning of it, the quiet seed of something that is slowly growing. Each day, he tries one small new thing. On Tuesday, he says hello to a coworker he rarely talks to. On Wednesday, he practices speaking clearly while walking to work, whispering simple sentences under his breath, sentences like, my voice matters and I can express myself. On Thursday, he challenges himself to join a short conversation in the office kitchen, even though he normally avoids places where people talk in groups. His voice trembles a little, but he stays in the conversation. And every time he takes one of these small steps, he feels a warm little spark inside him that says, You're doing it. Keep going. It is this spark, this tiny flame, that helps him continue. And by the time Friday arrives, he feels ready for the next workshop, ready to build another brick in the house of confidence he is slowly creating. On Friday evening, as he walks toward the workshop building, the sky is painted with soft pink and orange colors from the sunset. The air feels cool and peaceful. The streets are quieter than usual. And Daniel feels a gentle excitement growing inside him. When he reaches the entrance, he sees Maya standing outside waiting for him. She smiles brightly, and Daniel feels himself relax. He tells her about his week, about the small steps he took, and she listens with warm eyes. She says, These small steps are powerful. They are changing you more than you think. Her words make Daniel pause for a moment. He looks down at the ground and whispers, Sometimes I still feel scared. Maya puts a hand on his shoulder and says, That's okay. You're still moving forward. And the softness in her voice makes him feel safe, like he is not walking this journey alone. Inside the workshop room, the lights are warm and gentle, the same as before. Soft music plays in the background, creating a peaceful atmosphere that seems to wrap around everyone like a comfortable blanket. People sit in a circle again, and Daniel recognizes some faces from last week. They smile at him. It feels good, like returning to a place where he belongs. Elena walks in a few moments later, her presence calm and steady as always. She begins the workshop by saying, Confidence grows when you learn to listen to your inner voice. And Daniel feels those words settle deep inside him, like they were meant for him specifically. Elena continues, Tonight, We will explore the quiet voice inside each of us, the one we often hide, the one we are sometimes afraid to hear. But that voice carries truth. And truth is where confidence begins. Elena asks everyone to close their eyes again, just like last time. The room becomes silent, soft, and peaceful. Daniel feels his heart slow down as he breathes deeply. Elena's voice flows smoothly through the room as she says, "Inside every person, there is a voice that knows who you are and who you want to be." But many of us push that voice away because we fear it might be wrong or weak or not good enough. Tonight, I want you to listen to that voice. I want you to hear it clearly. Daniel tries to listen, and slowly, very slowly, he feels a quiet thought rise inside him. It is not loud. It is not confident. But it is real. The thought says, "I want to be heard." Daniel breathes deeply, letting the sentence echo through him. He realizes that this quiet sentence is something he has been wanting to say for many years, maybe even since he was a child. He feels a little emotional, but he lets the feeling stay, lets it move inside him gently. When everyone opens their eyes, Elena asks the group to share what they heard inside themselves. One by one, people speak. A woman says her inner voice wants her to stop pretending she is fine when she is not. A young man says his inner voice wants him to follow his dream of becoming an artist. Another person says their inner voice is tired of fear. As Daniel listens, he realizes that every person in the room carries something heavy, something hidden, something that needs to come out. And this makes him feel less alone. When it is Daniel's turn, he hesitates for a moment. His voice feels caught in his throat. But he knows this is another small step. He knows he must try. So he softly says, my voice tells me that I want to be heard." The room becomes quiet for a moment. Elena looks at him with warm, understanding eyes and says, "That is a powerful truth." And Daniel feels seen, truly seen. After the sharing circle, Elena guides the group through a speaking exercise. She explains that confidence is not just about speaking loudly, but about speaking with honesty and connection. She pairs people together and asks them to talk about something simple but personal, something that matters to them. Daniel is paired with a man named Julian, someone he has seen before but never spoken to. Julian smiles warmly and says, "You can go first if you want." Daniel nods and takes a small breath. He talks about his fear of speaking, about staying quiet in meetings, about wanting to express himself more. Julian listens with gentle attention, not interrupting, not judging. When Daniel finishes, Julian says, "I understand that feeling. I used to be the same. But you're taking steps. And that means you're already growing." These words feel like sunlight entering Daniel's chest. He feels a connection, a sense of understanding that he has rarely felt before. When it is Julian's turn, he talks about his own struggles, how he felt invisible in his family growing up, how he learned to make himself small to avoid conflict, how he lost his voice for many years. Daniel listens carefully, and he realizes that everyone has a story. Everyone has wounds. Everyone has fears. And somehow, listening to someone else's struggles makes his own feel less heavy. After the exercise, Daniel and Julian shake hands. Julian says, "Glad we talked." And Daniel replies, "Me too." It is a simple exchange, but it feels meaningful. Elena continues the workshop with another activity. She asks everyone to stand up and move around the room slowly. She says, confidence also lives in your body. When your body feels small, your voice becomes small. When your body feels open, your voice becomes stronger. She teaches the group a simple breathing technique. Breathe in deeply, lift your chest softly, relax your shoulders. Daniel practices the movement. At first, it feels strange, but after a few moments, he notices that his chest feels wider, lighter, more open. Elena says, when you breathe like this, you give your voice more space. And when your voice has space, it grows. Daniel feels this deeply. He realizes that confidence is not just a mental thing. It is also physical. It is emotional. It is something that touches every part of you. Later in the workshop, Elena introduces a gentle speaking challenge. She says, each person will stand in the center for 10 seconds and say one sentence that describes who they want to become. Daniel feels nervous again. The idea of standing in the center makes his stomach twist. One by one, people step forward. Some speak loudly. Some speak softly. Some shake. Some cry. But every single person tries, and every single person is supported by the group. When Daniel's turn comes, he steps into the center slowly. His hands feel cold. His heart beats fast. But he remembers his breath, remembers the feeling of his chest opening. He lifts his chin slightly and says, I want to become someone who trusts his own voice. As soon as he says it, his voice shakes a little, but his words are clear. When he steps back to his seat, the group quietly claps, and Elena smiles warmly at him. Maya squeezes his hand gently and whispers, You did great. And Daniel feels a soft wave of emotion move through him. He feels proud. He feels brave. He feels alive. After the workshop ends, Daniel and Maya walk outside together. The night air is cool and soft. The stars are faint but visible. They walk slowly, not in a hurry. Maya says, You're changing, Daniel. And Daniel shakes his head softly and says, I don't know, maybe just a little. But Maya insists, No, I can see it. It's in the way you stand now. It's in the way you speak. It's in the way you look at the world. Something inside you is opening. Daniel thinks about her words. He wants to believe them. He wants to trust that he is growing. And as they walk under the quiet sky, he realizes something. He does not feel as small as he used to. He does not feel invisible. He feels present. He feels part of something. When Daniel gets home that night, he sits on his bed and closes his eyes. He takes a slow breath and listens to the quiet inside him. The voice that whispered earlier is still there, still saying, I want to be heard. But now there's something else, a new voice, a soft but steady voice that says, You are learning. You are growing. Keep going. And Daniel decides that he will keep going. He opens his notebook again and writes, Today I spoke in front of the group. I heard my inner voice. I feel stronger. His handwriting is slow and careful. When he finishes writing, he touches the page gently, as if sealing the moment into memory. As he prepares for bed, Daniel reflects on the day. He thinks about the workshop, the people, the stories, the exercises, the emotions. And he realizes that confidence is not a single moment. It is a journey. A long, gentle journey full of small steps, small realizations, small victories. It is like a slow sunrise that becomes brighter each day. He lies down, closes his eyes, and feels a quiet glow inside him, the same soft flame he felt the night before, only a little brighter now. And he falls asleep knowing that he is becoming someone new, someone stronger, someone who is learning to trust the voice inside. Because the voice inside him is no longer silent. The following days unfold in a gentle rhythm, slow and steady, like steps on a long path that Daniel is just beginning to understand. Each morning, he wakes up feeling a little more grounded, a little more aware of himself, and a little more connected to the quiet voice inside him that used to be hidden beneath layers of fear. Now, that voice feels closer. It feels like a soft companion walking beside him. It guides him through his days, reminding him that he is learning, growing, and changing. As Daniel goes to work, as he cooks his meals, as he walks through the city streets, he feels this inner voice softly whispering encouragement, almost like a friend he never knew he had. Some days, the voice is strong. Some days, it is barely there. But it exists, and that alone feels like a miracle to Daniel. One morning, as Daniel sits at his desk typing an email, his manager approaches him. This makes Daniel straighten his back a little, because he remembers how nervous he used to feel when anyone at work came near him. But today he feels a little stronger. His manager says, "Daniel, I liked your idea last week. Would you be open to sharing it again in a bigger meeting next Monday?" Those words land heavily in Daniel's chest, not like a weight, but like a knock on a door he never thought he would open. A bigger meeting. More people. More eyes. More judgment. For a moment, fear rises inside him, warm and uncomfortable. He feels his throat tighten, the old familiar tension that used to control him. But then he breathes slowly and hears his inner voice say, "This is another step. You can try." And with that, he looks at his manager and says, "Yes, I can share it." His voice is soft but steady. And his manager nods, looking pleasantly surprised. After his manager walks away, Daniel sits quietly for a moment. He feels both excited and terrified. His hands tremble slightly on the keyboard. He leans back in his chair and whispers to himself, "It's okay to be scared. But I will try." These words feel like a warm blanket around his fear, calming it, softening it. Later during lunch, Daniel tells Maya about the upcoming meeting. She smiles with bright eyes and says, "That's huge. You're ready for it." But Daniel shakes his head lightly and says, "I don't know if I'm ready." Maya leans forward and says gently, "No one ever feels ready. People grow by doing things before they feel ready." Daniel thinks about that for a long moment. It feels true. It feels real. And he promises himself that he will prepare, practice, and give himself the chance to grow. That weekend becomes a quiet turning point for him. He spends Saturday morning sitting by his window with a notebook, practicing what he wants to say in the meeting. He writes simple sentences, pauses, rewrites them, and reads them out loud in a slow, calm voice. At first, his voice shakes a little, but he keeps going. He practices speaking clearly, like water flowing gently from a river. He practices breathing before every sentence. He practices imagining himself standing in the room with many people watching him, listening to him. And slowly, the fear becomes smaller. Not gone, but smaller. Later, Daniel decides to take a walk in the park to clear his mind. The trees sway softly in the wind. Birds fly low over the lake. Children laugh in the distance. And the world feels peaceful. As he sits on a bench, he closes his eyes and listens to the sounds of the park. He realizes something important. Confidence is not built only with words. Confidence is built by moments of presence, moments of calm, moments when you breathe deeply and trust that you are enough. And Daniel lets this thought sink into him like sunlight warming his skin. On Sunday evening, Daniel receives a message from Elena, the workshop leader. She sometimes sends simple, gentle reminders to the group. This message says, remember, confidence grows when fear and courage stand together, not apart. Daniel reads this sentence several times, letting it echo through him. He thinks about all the times he believed confidence meant having no fear. But now he realizes something new. Confidence is the ability to keep moving even when fear walks beside you. That realization feels like discovering a new truth about himself. He feels proud, even if it is a quiet kind of pride. On Monday morning, the day of the big meeting, Daniel wakes up earlier than usual. The sky outside is a soft gray and everything feels calm. He stands in front of the mirror once again. The reflection looking back at him is still the same Daniel, with the same quiet eyes and gentle face. But there is something new in his posture, something a little stronger, something that wasn't there a month ago. He looks at himself and says softly, "Today is important, but I can handle it." His voice is slow, steady, and honest. And Daniel feels a soft warmth in his chest, a tiny spark that reminds him he is growing. As he walks to work, his steps feel careful but confident. He breathes slowly, repeating simple sentences in his mind. I can speak clearly. I can express myself. I can take this step. The city moves around him with its usual noise, but today he feels centered, like he is walking inside a calm bubble. When he arrives at the office, he takes a few moments at his desk to ground himself. He places his hands on the table and breathes deeply 3 times. He whispers, "Courage over comfort," a phrase Elena once said during a workshop. And then, finally, the moment arrives. The meeting room is larger than the one he is used to. There are more people than usual, at least 15 of them. Daniel's heartbeat becomes faster. His hands feel a little cold. He sits down slowly, holding his notebook tightly. As the meeting begins, he listens to the other speakers. Their voices are loud, confident, smooth. Daniel feels small again for a moment. But then he reminds himself that he doesn't need to be like them. He only needs to be himself. When his manager calls his name and says, Daniel has an idea he would like to share, Daniel feels the room become quiet. He stands slowly, his legs slightly shaky. But he breathes deeply, lifts his chest gently like Elena taught him, and begins speaking. His voice is soft at first, but it grows steadier with each word. He explains his idea clearly, simply, in a way that feels natural. At one moment, his voice trembles, but he does not stop. He keeps going gently, letting the fear move through him like a wave that rises and falls. When he finishes, the room stays quiet for a brief moment. Then someone says, "That's a good point." Another person nods. His manager smiles. Daniel feels warmth surge through him, not loud excitement, but a deep, gentle pride. He sits back down, and Maya, sitting across the room, gives him a small smile of encouragement. Daniel breathes deeply, feeling something shift inside him. He faced the fear. He spoke. And he grew. After the meeting ends, Daniel walks out of the room slowly, as if he is walking on soft clouds. He feels light, relieved, and quietly powerful. His manager approaches him and says, "Thank you, Daniel. That was well presented." Daniel nods, smiling softly. He walks to the small break room and stands there for a moment, letting everything sink in. He whispers, "I did it," almost in disbelief. The words feel real. They feel earned. They feel important. That evening, Daniel goes to the workshop again. When he enters the room, he feels different from before. Not fully confident, but more open, more ready. When Elena asks how their week was, Daniel raises his hand gently. This time, he does not feel afraid of speaking. He tells the group about the big meeting, about the fear, about the courage, about the moment he trusted himself. The group listens with warm attention. When he finishes, Elena smiles and says, "That was a turning point." And Daniel knows she's right. It was. The rest of the workshop becomes a beautiful exploration of personal growth. Elena talks about the power of self-kindness. She explains that growing confidence requires patience, compassion, and forgiveness. Daniel listens deeply. He realizes that for many years he was hard on himself, judging every mistake, criticizing every small step, believing he was never enough. But now he understands that being kind to himself is part of the journey. During one exercise, Elena asks everyone to write a letter to themselves, a gentle letter filled with encouragement and understanding. Daniel writes slowly, softly, choosing each word like a small stone placed carefully on a path. He writes, "I am trying. I am learning. I am growing. I am proud of the small steps I take. I am becoming someone who trusts his own voice." When he finishes the letter, he reads it quietly, and tears rise in his eyes. Not sad tears, but healing tears. Tears of release. Tears of growth. After the workshop, Daniel walks home under the night sky. The city lights shimmer softly. The air feels cool against his skin. And he feels a deep sense of peace, a peace he has not felt in years. He realizes that confidence is not one big moment, but many small ones. It is not one loud victory, but a collection of quiet ones. It is not the absence of fear, but the courage to continue anyway. And this realization becomes the beginning of the next stage of his journey. That night, as Daniel lies in bed, he whispers softly into the darkness, "I am proud of myself." And for the first time in his life, he truly means it. Because a turning point has arrived. The days after the turning point pass gently, like pages turning slowly in a long, meaningful book, and Daniel feels each day shaping him in ways he never imagined before. Every morning he wakes with a sense of quiet purpose, not loud or dramatic, but steady and warm like a candle flame he protects carefully with his hands. He feels his confidence growing, not as something bright and sudden, but as a soft rising energy that begins deep inside him and slowly spreads into his actions, his voice, and the way he moves through the world. He notices small things changing, the way he walks, a little straighter than before, the way he breathes, slower and deeper, the way he listens, more present and open. Even his coworkers notice it. One morning a colleague says, "You seem different lately. More confident." Daniel smiles softly, not used to hearing such words, and simply replies, "I'm working on myself." And those 5 words feel powerful because they are true in a way they never were before. As Daniel continues taking small steps, he starts to feel something else growing inside him: curiosity. Curiosity about himself, about life, about what confidence really means. He begins to notice how people speak, how they express emotions, how they tell stories, how their voices rise and fall like gentle waves. He realizes that storytelling is not something reserved for writers or performers. Storytelling lives in everyone. Every word we speak is part of the story we tell the world about who we are. And Daniel wonders, What story am I telling when I speak? What story do I want my voice to share? These thoughts stay with him throughout the week, moving softly through his mind like distant music. One evening, after a long but peaceful day at work, Daniel decides to visit a local bookstore. He has not been inside a bookstore for years. But somehow, tonight he feels called to go. The moment he enters, a warm scent of paper and quiet fills his senses. The soft light, the shelves, the gentle whisper of pages turning, all of it feels comforting. He walks slowly through the aisles, touching the edges of books, letting his eyes wander across titles. He stops at a small table labeled Personal Growth and Self-Discovery. His fingers hover over a book titled Finding Your True Voice. He picks it up and opens it to a random page. The sentence he lands on reads, "Your voice is not just sound. It is the story of your courage." Daniel feels a soft shiver in his heart. He closes the book slowly, thinking about how his own voice has changed these past weeks and how each small step has added to the story he is creating. As he keeps walking, he passes a small reading space in the corner of the store. A woman with gray hair and gentle eyes is giving a reading from her new book. People sit on soft chairs, listening to her voice, which flows calmly and beautifully through the room. Daniel stands in the back, listening quietly. The woman's voice is peaceful, steady, warm. She tells a story about fear, about finding strength in vulnerability, about the way human beings grow through small acts of courage. Her words feel like a warm hand placed gently on Daniel's shoulder. He realizes something important. Confident voices are not loud or perfect. They're honest. They speak from the heart. They speak from experience. They speak from truth. After the reading ends, Daniel approaches the woman shyly. He hesitates for a moment before speaking, but then he takes a breath and says, "Your story was beautiful. It really touched me." The woman smiles softly and replies, "Thank you." Stories are bridges. They help us step into someone else's world so we can understand our own better. Daniel feels these words sink deeply into him. Stories are bridges. And maybe, he thinks, learning to speak confidently is learning to build those bridges, one word at a time. When he leaves the bookstore, the night air feels crisp and cool. The sky is dark but sprinkled with small stars. Daniel walks slowly, feeling a deep sense of peace. He sits on a bench near his apartment and closes his eyes. He listens to the quiet around him, the distant hum of cars, the soft footsteps of someone passing, the whisper of wind moving through the leaves. And he realizes something powerful. Confidence is not only about speaking in meetings or workshops. Confidence is about being present in your own life. It is about choosing to show up again and again, even when fear tries to push you back into the shadows. It is about allowing yourself to be part of the world rather than hiding from it. The next workshop session arrives, and Daniel feels excited as he enters the familiar room with its warm lights and gentle music. Maya waves at him, her smile bright and welcoming. Julian, the man he paired with earlier, gives him a small nod of recognition. Daniel feels the comfort of belonging, something he rarely felt in groups before. Elena enters with her usual calm presence and begins the session by saying, "Tonight we will explore the courage of storytelling. Not big stories, not dramatic stories, just your own stories, the small ones that live inside you every day. Because your voice grows stronger when you learn to share pieces of your life with others." Daniel feels a soft flutter of nerves in his stomach. Storytelling? In front of people? Even if the stories are small, the idea feels frightening. But he knows fear means growth is near. Elena asks everyone to think of a simple moment from their week that made them feel something: peace, fear, happiness, sadness, confusion, surprise. Then she asks them to share the moment with a partner. Daniel pairs with a young woman he hasn't spoken to before, named Sienna. She has soft brown hair and gentle eyes. Sienna goes first. She shares a small moment about sitting by her window during a storm, feeling both scared of the loud thunder and comforted by the sound of rain. She describes it simply and honestly, and Daniel listens deeply. When it is his turn, he takes a slow breath and shares the moment he stood in the big meeting at work. He describes how his hands trembled, how his heart raced, how he spoke anyway, and how the room listened. His voice shakes a little as he speaks, but he keeps going, letting the story flow from his heart without rushing. When he finishes, Sienna looks at him and says, "That's beautiful and very brave." Her voice is warm, sincere, and full of respect. Daniel feels a soft warmth spread through his chest, a feeling that tells him he is becoming someone he never believed he could be. Elena then brings the group back into one circle and says, "Now we will take one more step." Each person will stand and share that small story with the whole group. Remember, speak slowly, breathe deeply, and trust that your story matters. Daniel feels a heavy wave of fear wash over him. Sharing with one person was hard enough. Sharing with everyone feels overwhelming. But he watches one person after another stand and speak. Some voices shake. Some pause. Some cry. Some smile nervously. But every single person shares their truth. And the group listens without judgment. With every story told, Daniel feels the room becoming softer, safer, more connected. When it is his turn, he stands slowly. His legs feel a little weak, but he breathes deeply, remembering what Elena taught them. He looks around the circle. Everyone's eyes are warm, supportive, gentle. He begins speaking slowly, softly, allowing each word to find its place. He tells the story of the meeting again. This time, he adds something new, how proud he felt afterward, how it changed something inside him, how he realized he was stronger than he thought. His voice trembles once, but he continues. And when he finishes, the group claps quietly, respectfully. Elena looks at him with a soft smile and says, "You shared from your heart." That is confidence. After the workshop, Maya walks beside him and says, "You're becoming a storyteller." Daniel laughs gently, shaking his head. "I don't think so," he replies. "But Maya says you are." Storytelling is not about fancy words. It's about speaking honestly. And you did that tonight. Her words stay with him as he walks home. He thinks about how far he has come since the first workshop, how many fears he has faced, how many steps he has taken, how many layers of fear he has peeled away. And he realizes that he is indeed becoming something new, someone who trusts his voice, someone who knows he has something to say, someone who is daring to step into his own story. That night, Daniel sits at his table with his notebook open. He writes slowly, "Today I shared a story. A small story, but it was mine. And I spoke from my heart. This is another step." He closes the notebook gently, feeling the truth of those words settle inside him like soft light. Days pass. Daniel continues practicing speaking in simple situations, ordering food, asking questions, starting small conversations. He realizes that confidence grows in ordinary moments, not only in big ones. He notices how people respond more warmly to him now. He notices how he feels more connected to the world around him. He even notices how his English becomes smoother, clearer, more natural as he practices speaking with calmness instead of fear. He starts reading aloud at home, practicing slow narration, letting his voice flow gently, building rhythm and comfort. And little by little, he begins to enjoy speaking. One afternoon, while walking through the park, Daniel stops near a small lake. The water is calm, reflecting the soft colors of the sky. He sits on a bench and closes his eyes, breathing deeply. He thinks about the journey he has taken so far, the fear, the silence, the small steps, the workshops, the stories, the turning point. He realizes he is no longer the person he was when he first stood in front of the mirror wishing he were different. He is becoming someone else. Someone stronger, braver, more open. Someone who is learning to speak not only with his voice, but with his heart. And in that peaceful moment, Daniel understands something powerful. He is becoming the story he always wanted to live. The next few weeks in Daniel's life unfold with a kind of quiet magic, a slow and steady magic that does not shout or demand attention, but simply settles into his days like warm sunlight after a long winter. Daniel notices this magic in the smallest places, like the way his heart feels calmer when he wakes up, or the way his steps feel more grounded as he walks to work, or the way his voice comes out smoother when he speaks to people. It is not that he no longer feels fear. He still does. Sometimes the fear rises quickly, sometimes quietly, sometimes in sudden waves that push against his chest. But now, instead of running from the fear, he breathes into it. He listens to it. He lets it move through him instead of stopping him. And this small change, this gentle acceptance, becomes one of the most powerful parts of his new life. He realizes that confidence is not the absence of fear. Confidence is the decision to keep going even while fear walks beside you. And so each day becomes another step on this long road ahead, a road that Daniel never believed he would walk. At work, people begin to notice something different about him, something subtle but steady. Coworkers who barely spoke to him before now greet him with warm voices. In meetings, Daniel speaks more often, not always, but enough to surprise people who are used to his silence. His ideas start receiving attention. His voice becomes a tool, not a barrier. One day, his manager calls him into the office and says, "Daniel, I've seen a lot of growth in you lately. Your confidence is improving and your ideas are valuable. I'd like you to take the lead on a small project next month." The words echo in Daniel's mind like a distant bell. A project leader. Him. The thought fills him with a mix of excitement and fear. But he hears the inner voice he has slowly come to trust whisper, "You can try. You're growing." And with a steady breath, Daniel says, "I can do it." His manager smiles and nods. And Daniel walks out of the office feeling both terrified and proud, two feelings that have become familiar companions. Outside of work, Daniel begins to explore more. On weekends, he visits places he used to avoid: cafes, parks, small community events. He starts reading books on communication and confidence. He practices speaking aloud every morning while making breakfast, narrating simple things like, "I am spreading butter on toast," or "I am pouring tea into a cup." He does this not because he thinks it makes him seem smart, but because it makes him feel connected to his own voice, like he is watering a small plant inside him that needs steady care. And every day, he feels this plant growing stronger roots. The workshops with Elena continue to be a huge part of his journey. Each session feels like a safe haven where he can breathe, reflect, and grow. Elena introduces new themes every week: self-compassion, emotional expression, clarity of voice, the rhythm of speech, understanding silence, connecting with others, and trusting the heart. Daniel participates more now. Not loudly, not boldly, but courageously. He shares pieces of his life with the group, pieces he never thought he would be brave enough to show. And every time he speaks, the group listens with gentle hearts. Their acceptance helps him grow in ways he cannot fully explain. One evening, Elena leads the group through a powerful exercise called future self-visualization. She asks everyone to close their eyes and imagine themselves 1 year into the future. "See yourself," she says softly. "See how you stand. See how you speak. See how you walk through the world. Listen to your future voice. Hear its strength. Hear its truth." Daniel closes his eyes and lets her voice guide him. In his mind, he sees a version of himself he almost doesn't recognize, a man standing tall, speaking clearly, with eyes full of calm confidence. The future Daniel is not loud, not perfect, not fearless, but strong and steady. He speaks with purpose. He listens with care. He walks with a gentle but powerful presence. Seeing this version of himself feels emotional, almost overwhelming. Daniel feels a small tear slip down his cheek. He does not wipe it away. When the exercise ends, Elena asks the group to share what they saw. When it is Daniel's turn, he hesitates only for a second. He breathes deeply and says, "I saw a version of myself that trusts his voice completely. I saw someone calm, strong, and open." His voice softens. Someone who is not hiding anymore. The room becomes quiet. Elena nods slowly and says, "That is who you are becoming." Her words touch something deep inside Daniel, a place he has kept hidden for years. And he feels himself opening a little more, like a flower slowly turning toward the sun. The more Daniel grows, the more he begins to notice the small miracles around him, moments of connection he never paid attention to before. One day, on the train, an older man asks him for directions. Normally, Daniel would have panicked, mumbling something quietly or pointing without speaking. But this time, he responds calmly, explaining the route clearly. The man smiles warmly and says, "Thank you, young man." And Daniel feels a soft pride rise inside him. Another day, he goes to a cafe after work. When the barista asks how his day was, instead of saying "fine" quickly and walking away, Daniel pauses and answers, "It was good. I'm working on something new at my job." The barista smiles and says, "That's exciting. Good luck." This small interaction stays with Daniel for hours. He realizes how many moments he used to miss because he was afraid to connect. Now, connections feel possible. They feel beautiful. They feel like warm threads weaving into the story of his life. One Saturday afternoon, Daniel decides to take a longer walk through the city. He visits a quiet neighborhood he has never been to before, filled with small houses, gardens, and narrow, peaceful streets. He stops at a little bench under a tree and sits down. The sky is blue, and sunlight filters through the leaves like golden rain. As he sits there, he thinks about how far he has come. He thinks about the boy he used to be, the one who stayed silent in class, the one who feared judgment, the one who avoided speaking, the one who believed he had nothing important to say. He thinks about the man he is now becoming, the one taking small, brave steps, the one learning to trust his voice, the one allowing himself to grow. And in that quiet moment, Daniel feels something shift inside him. He realizes he no longer wants to run from his fears. He wants to face them gently, patiently, bravely. Because facing them is how he becomes the person he dreams of being. That evening, Daniel meets Maya for dinner at a small restaurant. They sit near the window, watching people pass by in the soft glow of city lights. Maya asks him about his week, and Daniel begins to speak without the old hesitation. He tells her about the project he will lead, about the visualization exercise, about the small moments on the train and in the cafe. Maya listens with bright eyes, smiling often, laughing softly at the funny parts, encouraging him at the difficult parts. She says, "Daniel, you're changing faster than you realize. You're becoming more open, more alive." Daniel smiles shyly and says, "I'm trying." Maya shakes her head and says, "You're not just trying. You're doing it." After dinner, they walk together through the cool night air. The streetlights cast soft golden halos around them. Maya says, "Do you know what the next step is for you?" Daniel looks at her, curious. "What do you think it is?" he asks. Maya smiles gently and says, "To share more. To express yourself. To tell your story. Not just in the workshops, but in life." Daniel feels a soft nervousness rise inside him. "Tell my story," he repeats quietly. Maya nods. "Yes, you have a story that can help others. You just have to trust that your voice matters." Daniel walks silently for a moment, thinking about her words. A story worth telling. A voice worth sharing. The idea feels big, almost too big. But it also feels beautiful. Like something that could become a new chapter of his life. Later that night, as Daniel lies in bed, he stares at the ceiling and thinks deeply about the road ahead. He knows he still has fears. He knows he still has doubts. He knows there will be days when he feels small again, when he wants to hide, when he questions his progress. But he also knows something else, something stronger. He knows he has changed. He knows he has grown. He knows he has found courage he never believed he had. And most of all, he knows he is not at the end of his journey. He is only at the beginning. He closes his eyes and whispers softly into the darkness, "I am becoming who I am meant to be." The sentence flows from his heart like a gentle river. It feels true. It feels real. It feels powerful. Because the road ahead is long, but Daniel is ready to walk it one small, brave step at a time. Thank you so much for joining today's lesson here at JBC English Learning Academy. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below telling me what you want to learn next. Your support helps the channel grow and helps me create more lessons for you. Take care, keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next class.